It pulls you in and doesn't let go.
Hello, here we are in studio again.
Hi.
For the first episode since the infamous Rachel episode.
Oh.
Drove the internet wild.
Oh, really? Well, okay, we'll see.
Okay, welcome Daniel. I just want to make sure this shit's on. Okay, welcome Daniel Keller.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Artist extraordinaire.
Yeah.
You're sitting
So they
here
say.
checking your hyper gambling.
I'm hyper
we
gambling live on cam. Yeah, for sure.
So what is
Actually,
that?
the markets are closed. I don't think stocks count as hyper gambling.
So
That's just gambling.
What is hyper gambling?
I wish there was a technical term that I could just allude to, but no, there isn't any. I think it just means shitcoin trading, but I think it's about gambling on let's call it I can hear the feedback myself. Kind of like the longest tail of risk assets in terms of absolute, nothing tangible, backing assets that are created out of nothing and last generally for a few minutes or hours or days, sometimes maybe longer, but and somehow speculating on these things that are compared to traditional stocks and
Trad
equities.
gambling.
Yeah, trad gambling. It's hyper.
It's weird that gambling seems to have risen also among the normies, though, because now FanDuel is like the number
Absolutely.
one thing, and then also it's everybody's gambling on these meme coins, like the age of gambling.
It really is. Yeah. Say what you will about it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I have like a moral qualm with it as a sort of, somebody who of a certain persuasion that doesn't think so morally about it. Whatever. It's just entertainment for people.
Yeah.
That being said, a lot of things I might have like a libertarian viewpoint.
Yeah.
And then I also can acknowledge a sort of more paternalistic need to guide people who don't have that much self-control. I understand that argument for gambling too. So I think, I'm open to the people who are a little bit outraged by sports gambling becoming legalized and completely normalized, and just in general the second and third order effects of like what happens once speculation becomes one of the main hobbies, and then what I would argue will soon become one of the only avenues for sort of betterment or upward mobility soon.
Yeah, so this is something you've been tweeting about that's actually very interesting, where you had a good tweet today that was basically saying, can't people see that the only possibility for upward mobility is sloptimism and hypergambling?
Yes, I had a few different versions of it, but yeah, attention economy arbitrage, sloptimism, hypergambling, and all three of those things I think are intimately linked in general with sort of, the current trajectory of techno-capital acceleration.
Yeah.
And
so the only way
yeah.
to really move up is to have it invested in Bitcoin, basically.
Well, that's one of
that's
them.
the OG.
Sure,
version,
and
yeah.
barring that, going forward, it is increasingly vaporous and long tail assets, which,
Right.
and then creating those assets and leveraging or converting attention you can get on one platform into some other type of
Okay,
service.
so that's attention economy arbitrage.
There we go,
So what
yeah.
exactly does that mean?
I mean, that is such a wide-ranging activity, but I think of that as basically being at least what the economic basis for like art has become. And that's more like a platform era dynamic thing that's already begun, where like rather than being somebody who knits, you make like knitting content, and what you're actually doing is like converting your attention you get for your knitting content into like your knitting lessons or whatever you do to monetize that, but you're like converting attention, and that has become, you see even like Brad Trammell or Josh Sidrell, and this sort of like trend from net art into this kind of like content creation that's one version of it. Hawk Tua making a meme coin is a very, very canonical example of it, a very effective one for her.
Is there an analogy to be made to oil? It's like you got to refine the oil. The oil comes out of the ground and the attention is oil, but in order for it to be worth anything, it must be refined.
Sure.
And the refinement is the monetization part.
Yeah, that's, I think, a fine analogy in some way. Sure.
Now that I know
there's a lot of like specifics to different platforms of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think those platform specifics do shape the type of content that gets made. Like, it goes both ways. So I don't know.
Yeah, I came up in influencer marketing as like a creative strategist, and like the big swinging dicks of influencer marketing are the OG influencers who are makeup influencers.
Right, that makes
Those
sense.
are like the big, they're like the people you don't fuck with because they've been around the longest. They're the first people to figure out how to monetize YouTube properly because
Sure.
it's the easiest one-to-one. It's these like
No, it
total
makes sense.
normal looking like Latino women who like just show people how to put on makeup, and then they were like, well, obviously just sell the fucking makeup and it's perfect.
Yeah, it's
And
like perfect product market fit. You
Right.
have a face, the face is getting, there's a
Yeah.
change from before and after in the
Yeah.
face. It's really like what short form video is for. It makes a
Exactly.
lot of sense. Like,
Yeah.
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 But it's interesting then, like, how does AI like fit into that? Of course, is like AI is increasingly creating the ability to like automate the creation of attention in various ways. So that's how it kind of fits in. The obvious example fitting into what you just said is like, it's really easy now to make basically completely photorealistic first person, influencer testimonial videos. And my take on that is like, okay, cool. The companies that have made that, they're going to make probably a lot of money for several months, maybe a year and a half. Eventually, those capabilities first are going to get subsumed by the general models, like we'll be able to do everything, and all these kind of like narrow use cases are going to get swept away. But mostly, what it's going to do is just devalue the nature of that kind of content.
Right.
So it's just sort of like, yeah, okay, it's replaced it, it's made it infinite, and once something is infinite, it's like this infinite deflation in terms of the value of something. And
Yeah.
AI seems to do that. That seems to be one of the main things it does.
Exactly, which is kind of like, but that's sort of my position on AI generally, which is like, yeah, everybody, I'm reading Alex Karp's book, and Alex Karp has this thing where he asks the question, is there any difference between a movie or a symphony composed by AI and a symphony composed by a human? And he's like, and his conclusion is no, they're equally valuable. But I'm like, no, because it's a zero-sum game. Because it's like the
Attention is a zero-sum
yeah,
game.
like, well, wait. So what do you mean?
Well, there's only a limited number of people who can pay attention to things a number of hours. Like that's the actually true scarce resource, and this time is like
Right.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
And so any kind of medium or entertainment or activity, whether it's going to church, they're all in competition with each other at this point, and that only increases as people have more leisure time and less work, which
Yeah.
is overall what's happening, even if people want to say that standards of living are eroding.
Well, and your point is basically you better learn how to play that game, or else you're
Yeah.
gonna get left behind.
No,
which I think
that is what
true.
I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, I think that is true to a degree. I also, like, what do you think? Do you think that a symphony composed by a machine is of equal value to one that is composed by
I think
a
it's
person?
I think it's almost like a category error to ask that. Like, I would say, like, of course not, but that's because, like, the interesting form of art that it could create wouldn't be just simulating some ancient solved form like a symphony.
Right.
But I also think, like,
Yes, yeah, it's well
but I
said.
also like
well said.
a human making a symphony today isn't very interesting. Like it's already because it's solved. It's like, and I have another coinage, operification, which is like, there was a time where you'd go to the opera to see like novelty, to see the newest in stagecraft, new special effects, new types of storytelling, whatever, cool new songs, pop, and then at some point it sort of like got ossified and turned into, it got solved as a medium, stopped becoming, it just wasn't a site for innovation. And the people who are still interested in it, they're interested in it as preserving it in its form. And that happens to basically every kind of form of artwork, it seems like at some point, including contemporary art. And that definitely has happened in the last 10 years, where it is sort of like this operification, where rather than it being an engine for novelty, it's just sort of like a site for doing this traditional thing, this traditional craft.
It's funny, I had a tweet years ago predicting that film will go the way of opera.
Absolutely.
Because opera was, I think people have this idea that opera was like around from like the year zero to opera was like 1600 to 1800.
It
was like
form.
200 years.
That's why I use it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But today it's like, the idea, the most like, archaic and
right.
pretentious.
Well, it just goes to show what can happen to a medium. I mean, a medium really can just get totally destroyed. Although I guess what people...
It's not destroyed, though. It gets preserved. It gets like mummified.
Right.
It's like it's not really...
Destroyed. Yeah, right. Mummified.
And like I think that's what happens with all the subcultures that have ever existed still exist now. Like you can find perfectly preserved punks that dress, that's kind of is one of the features of the internet.
Ren fairs.
Yeah, exactly. Just like all, ska people, whatever. Like they all exist.
Amazing.
Especially in LA. I feel like LA is
modern. Can we go to like a modern ska bar?
For sure. We're gonna go skanking.
That's what Andrew Callahan should do. You should just like go hang out with like who's ever doing ska, hardcore, new ska right now. Let's go fucking.
I'm sure it's happening.
Mighty Boss
right
Stones. Yeah, that's actually really funny. I think that.
But so I think actually, wait, sorry to interrupt you, but
no.
But what I think we never got, like, it didn't get to the point with like operification and what happens with film is like, so like, it will, it's like, it will not be interesting. Like, okay, an AI generated film, it's like, it will be possible, but it's gonna like, no, it's like, there's not gonna be an actual audience for that because it will be a solved form. And that happened with chess too. I mean, people love playing chess still, but like in a competitive chess is over, kind of like in the highest level.
You're articulating something that I've tried to articulate for a long time, which is something about like the zero sumness of human innovation. And it's like, so my response to Alex Karp, his question, does it have the same value, is actually no, it doesn't. Even though, of course, taken alone, if you were to do a blind study right now theoretically, between a movie completely made by AI and a human being, like, yes, theoretically speaking, they do have the same value, right? If you were to do like a blind test, nobody knows if it's a song made by AI or a person. He's correct in the most theoretical economist sense of the term.
Like,
but
will it stimulate
will it stimulate the right things?
Neurons,
but in real, actual reality, I would say never. Something made by a machine will never match the thing made by a human because it's a zero-sum game. Because human ingenuity, the entire point of it is that it stays ahead of the mechanization. Like, that's kind of the whole thing of it, right? Like, that's kind of what you're saying?
Well, I think you just like, we need to think about what will be the actual like native medium of
our time. We already know.
It's
called memes.
Memes are one of them.
Memes.
Podcasts and live streams are certainly another one. Live streams, I think, are really important.
Live streams are great, but live streams are so weird, man.
I mean, I don't watch. I'm not like I'm not the demo for it, but I acknowledge the importance and like the I Show Speed in China arc. Like I saw the clips of it, and I thought that was a very important media moment.
Tell us what that is.
I Show Speed is a very, very biggest YouTuber. I don't know. I'm not going to do a good summary of who he is, but
is this the black guy?
He's a black guy.
Yeah, who like goes
He's very fast,
people.
and he doesn't really harass people. He kind of like is. No, he's not that guy.
Oh,
He like jumps over cars and he's really enthusiastic and optimistic and He's not like a pranker guy.
Oh, okay.
No, he's not a social. He's not like a distant. Yeah, he was welcomed in China. He was beloved. He went to China. He tried out all of the new tech really enthusiastically. He like had these heart-to-heart sessions with Chinese people. There was crowds flocking to him. I thought it was a very important both media moment and geopolitical moment because it was like watched by like 150 million people. So it's just like, I don't know, hard to comprehend. Anyways, I think those are maybe those are the media of the moment now, but it's not AI native media. That's what I'm talking about. And we're getting that with like interactive video or like, basically it'll be like, not really like the replacement for movies. Because like what movies I guess now are like this collective experience of like we go out and we share, we've all watched the same story. Whereas like, I don't know, if you've ever tried to share content you made with AI of somebody else, it's like almost embarrassing. It's like a dream. It's like masturbate. It's like you don't share the porn you're watching. You don't share your dream journal. And it's the same thing. It's like, oh, that's like actually, it might be as meaningful as an opera for like one person. It's not going to be for anybody else. And that kind of is like, that splits like that. I think that's probably the more like native media form. You know what I mean? It's like
Well, but what do you mean?
hyper-personalized.
I don't understand what you. Like, you're saying it's
Like basically like
I don't really get it.
hyper-personalized hallucinations. Like that's going to be the medium of the sign soon.
Weird.
And like Midjourney actually, so you know Midjourney, right? Like
I mean, we all do that, right? Yeah, like when you mess with Midjourney, you put a picture of yourself in and like see what it does.
that's
right?
one. That's
kinda like
one
what we're
version.
saying.
Or I mean, in general, it's like you're exploring your own imagination in general when you're prompting. But Midjourney explicitly said that's in the roadmap. They came out with their video model today. They only did images before, but they're like, we believe the future is that. And I know they're working on a wearable device.
Hallucination.
Yeah, just like, VR, but instead of it being, we're all playing the same video game, it's like, and every frame is not generated by like, the current rendering thing where you would like build it in a rendering program. It's like an AI is making it for you on
But
the
why
fly.
would this be
60
fun
frames.
for you? Like, what would be fun?
Well,
about
I
this?
think it could be,
Like, what are you doing?
it's like lucid dreaming is how lucid dreaming is fun, basically. You can
What do
set,
you mean exactly?
look, a holodeck. It's basically a holodeck,
What's a holodeck?
like in Star Trek.
What's that?
It was like a room that could go to,
Anywhere you want.
well, it was a room that could transform into kind of like any, VR
Any
experience you want,
environment.
any
I
environment,
see.
and play out any narratives or any kind of games. Like
okay.
you can play, you could make it into a first-person shooter, or and in the middle of that first-person shooter, you could start doing whatever else. I mean, obviously, I'm using the most.
You could stab.
You could start stabbing and then rape. It could be both. It could be whatever you want. You know, the term for first-person shooter in German is ego shooter, and I think that is a good
Ego shooter.
Ego shooter. So yes, you could make your own custom ego shooters.
Wait, is the German word for ego? No.
No,
that
it's
can't be.
Augen. Auge.
But they sort of shorten it to ego, or
It's related. Yeah.
yeah,
I
or
don't
like
know.
ego, yeah, first
I
person
don't know.
shooter, yeah. Got
Yes.
it. Wow. No, okay, I totally get it. Yeah, it'll be like, hey, put me here, like I want to experience this, and like that'll be like the thing you do, but it's like actually totally individualized. You're not actually interacting with anybody
It's
else.
not like the
really.
hot new game.
Well, but people will of course do
It'll be
the
the hot new
multiplayer. They'll do the
That'll also be
multiplayer
popular
thing,
for sure.
right?
Totally.
Yeah, but we're so far away from haptics, man. Like haptics don't seem like they're gonna happen. Remember, Zuckerberg bet his whole company on this and immediately failed.
Haptics?
As
You
he
mean
does
like
everything.
actual like?
Yeah.
very
You
physical-
don't get the haptics.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I do think that's important, but
Yeah.
it clearly isn't that important for a lot of people. Like games are very.
Also, you're
popular
kind of
about that.
mixing up VR with AI right now,
Well,
right?
yeah, but it's gonna fuse. Is my point.
It's gonna be the
basically.
same. It's gonna be the same
Yeah.
thing.
The VR is just the interface for the AI, and in general, I think that is part of why it's inevitable.
VR is the interface for the AI.
It will be one of them, anyways. And like you can kind of like you have a window. You can prompt any filter, any overlay, any information. It's kind of like perfect. It's just like
Well,
you
but
know.
what about like Unreal Engine and stuff like that? But that's not AI, right?
no, it's not. And that's my point. Is this is going to replace that?
Because it
already
AI
is.
will make it so that there's randomness, basically. So like true randomness. sort
Well,
of.
I guess that's one way to put it. It's just like a different pipeline, basically, where you're yeah, you're not rendering it. It's not based off of instructions ahead of time.
Yeah,
in the same way.
Right. It's like
The model is
actually-
generating it
right. It's
in real
it's
time.
generating sort of random things to make it feel like it actually really is like naturally
Yeah.
occurring.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
it's funny. So it's like we're just going deeper and deeper into total isolation.
That's certainly one path. It feels like, for sure. And obviously, there's lots of people like collective activities too. So I don't think that there's not going to be like, that's not going away. But like you said before, it's zero sum in terms of hours per day that you can spend doing a certain thing.
So where will the artistic ingenuity come in that? Like who will be the like the titan, who will be the director or the artist in that circumstance? Just you? It's just more and more you.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it just like depends. I think you could say it just moves up higher on the like tech stack, and it's the people who are creating these models are the artists because they're deciding what data sets goes into it in general. And there are some artists that are explicitly thinking about training models as a medium, like Matt Dryers and Holly Herndon. They're the ones that come to mind. They've made a whole shtick around it.
Wait,
for sure.
who are they?
So Holly Herndon is a musician, and like her and her husband Matt, they kind of work together as an artistic duo. They've done a lot of research into like AI music stuff early on, where they made a model of Holly's voice something like 8 years ago. They made a DAO around it. They have like they're kind of like one of the only artists that do work with AI and crypto, but are like still allowed in the room. Like they're not like in terms of institutional European art world, just because they have the right angle for everything, and they're very smart and they consider things very deeply. But they basically say, yeah, like all media is training data, and you have to just like accept that. So sure, the art isn't going to come from any instance of thing you're making, but the art will just move up that chain. And the people who are training those models, there's a lot of artistic potential in that, because you decide what goes into it and what it feels like and everything. And
so are you familiar with what those decisions and outputs actually are on the creator of the model level? I know you're doing something called old models, where you're preserving old models.
Yeah.
So what sort of decisions actually go into it? Because like right now, if you go to Midjourney and you're like, make me this, or if you go to ChatGPT and say make me this, they're all going to kind of give you slightly different things. But do you know anything about the actual weights that how like what sort of decisions actually go into that?
Well, I mean, what data that's the main one is what is the data set that you're training off of. That's like the main variable there. There's a ton of other stuff that I could not even begin to tell you. But that's the main one. And the way that you can also, there's something called fine tuning, and what you can do is like build something called a LoRa, which stands for something that I don't remember. But what that is sort of like you take a model that already exists, which is a general one. It's like a big one that took a lot of time and money to train because it has a bunch of information and a bunch of processing, whatever. You take that and then you can fine tune it on a smaller data set. So, and that's very easy for you, like users can do that, like pretty, like without very much code, you can do that, where you can make, for instance, a model that it's trained to do any type of image. You can make it kind of only do Studio Ghibli style. You can make it look like a certain style, but you can also do it with video. And with videos, you can do it with style, but you can also do it with certain motions. So if you wanted to make, like, I don't know, a preset that makes everyone do the Macarena, all you would need to do is find like, I don't know, 30 to 50 videos of people doing the Macarena from different angles and stuff. And there's I think a lot of art in curating the data set correctly. And that's like, there's people who do that. I've never done that myself. So you do that, you run this little training model on that, and then you have this sort of like much smaller, more efficient model that basically any image you put into it, it'll make the Macarena, as opposed to being able to do anything at all, which is what the base model can do. Does that make sense?
I don't understand. What is
sorry.
Yeah. What?
So you can
What do you mean the little model and the base model? Like what is the difference in this? But what do you
like a base model is something like ChatGPT 4.
Okay, that's the base model.
Yeah, or like stable diffusion is the model. Yeah.
Somebody says,
how's the
how
chemo
do you-
going?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can talk about that too if people want to.
It
Of
says,
course.
"Sup, fellas, how do you achieve the setup where you look green screened?"
It's just natural lighting is the.
It's it's the Talmudic studio.
Oh, this is cool. So you get
We're in the Talmudic studio.
you get the you get chat from all the different platforms.
Well,
in one.
only Twitter and YouTube, but nobody knows how to do it. Like we have 400 people watching.
Wow.
Most of those are on Twitter,
I see.
but
Yeah.
the people can't figure out how to comment on Twitter because it's in a weird area. So most people don't comment on Twitter, but
Yeah,
some
it's in a
people
weird
are
chat room.
figuring it out.
I see.
Whereas most people do it on YouTube. I'm throttled to hell on YouTube though. They don't let me get above a certain, because I got to like 1,000 followers really quick, and then they just like crushed me because they know I'm anti.
You're,
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, who actually?
Aren't
knows?
you aligned with the X agenda?
No, not X. The X loves it. I mean the YouTube.
Oh, YouTube.
Yeah,
I
YouTube
see.
doesn't like it.
YouTube.
YouTube, more
Right.
like YouTube.
Anyway, I forget where we were, but that's hi guys, everybody.
Hi everyone.
Thanks for watching. I don't know what we're at, but
Well, no,
Anyways,
let's
yeah.
talk about old models before.
Old models.
No,
Yeah, old models,
no,
though.
wait. Sorry,
Yeah.
you were saying ChatGPT is the master.
yeah, you get it's a
Model.
big model that okay, like or stable diffusion is a better version, and that is like you can prompt anything, and it can do pretty much anything. Like, I want it to look like a movie still, it can do that. I want it to make it look like a shitty deviant art illustration, it can do that. But that entails it being a really, really big model that's kind of cumbersome. And for that reason, it takes a lot of compute to run it.
Got
It's
it.
more expensive. You can fine tune that where you take that model and you just basically like trim a lot of those parameters into only the ones that you want. That's all. I don't know. And there's a lot of art in making those models. And to bring it back to old models, yeah, part of the things I want to archive, there will be these big base models, but also like I want to have an archive of all the like weird failed training runs that result in images that like would never get released as a product.
Like
or,
I always think of the Will Smith spaghetti.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. I mean, like the whole ethos behind old models is like generally when you see any type of like demonstration of AI, especially with like shitty threaders on Twitter, they'll be like, "This is the worst. Imagine this is the worst it'll ever be." That's the refrain. And in some ways, that's true, of course. But it's like that attitude of just like constantly falling forward into the future and not appreciating what you have, and not also like not appreciating the kind of like the aesthetic, all the like the fuck ups, which of course, will inevitably become appreciated because that's always how things go with technology. It's like,
This is the whole ugliness theory. This
Yeah.
is Brian Eno's ugliness theory.
100%.
That we always end up loving the weird glitches.
yeah, totally. And
from
I've
things
seen
in
that.
the
I just like
past.
see the demand. I see people being like, oh, I've seen it's also like, it's become the only acceptable kind of like libtard take. It'd be like, AI was cool with DALL-E 2, but then it became all shitty. And it's just like, okay, if you want to believe that, sure, I got a product for you.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I just feel like old models, I mean, this is like, it's not the main objective, but I do feel like it's almost a good Trojan horse for getting people that are ostensibly against this stuff because of wasting water or whatever other like made up kind of complaints about AI. It gets a foot in the door for them in a way. And in general, I think that's important because I genuinely think that people who are kind of proudly and proudly ignoring this stuff or like not using it or at least not experimenting with it, like I feel like I'm worried for them. Like I have a bit of a savior.
Oh,
feel
who
like,
gives a fuck?
well,
let him die.
I oscillate between that. I certainly, it's mostly
really
take my, I'm pretty brash about it. I'm like, take this or die.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
it's not. I'm not offering it with a lot of sympathy, and sure, I can see why people have a lot of criticisms about everything I say, but it's just like nobody has any choice.
It's funny because we're dealing with the most sclerotic academy ever,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's funny because it's the most powerful like academy destroyer ever that is going to destroy the most sclerotic academy ever.
Yes.
It's kind of like perfect. It's like this perfect like intersection, and it's like
true.
so beautiful how these things are about to hit, and they already are hitting.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's interesting to have this perspective that it's like, as you're saying, it's like you should love what you have with the flaws of this medium, and I think you're so right about that, and that's why it's like, old models, it's very important to kind of preserve this, especially because unlike a CD player, which is a physical object, these old models could like arguably just sort of like, if it's too much memory, they're just gonna like disappear.
I mean, a lot
right?
of them already have, for sure.
Yeah,
It is a good genuine issue, I think, like and for like for research purposes, and also for like future AI that want to learn about their own prehistory. I'm sure they're going to be interested. So I'm trying to win some favor with them too, going on.
Sam Freakman says, iterating with the prompts just seems like such a pain in the ass, man. I don't really know what he means.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
We can't do the
if you're really lazy, it's like that anything can be a pain in the ass. I would say that that's a pretty, in terms of things that you have to do to or iterations that one might have to try, it's a pretty painless one.
Iterating with the prompts, what does that mean, iterating with the prompts?
Well, I don't know what he's talking about specifically, but I just assume he means like trying out these models and testing their limitations, and also like when things don't work, you have to sort of like battle with the limitations of the model to get it to do what you want. And I can see how that's very frustrating for people. But
so what's your stance on actual sentience? Because I would guess that you're a non-sentience guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like don't really think about it that much, honestly.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think that's the mistake that most people make, and
That's for sure.
and that's why they say this thing of like, yeah, you're right. I hate when people are like, this is what it's like a youth, it's like a child, it's like drawing, and it's going to get better at drawing.
Yeah.
And it's like that's another thing that Karp says, and I have nothing against Karp. I like Palantir. I'm like so totally on board, but but. He's like really, the thing about these tech guys at that level, they're all true believers. And he's it's demonstrating the characteristics of a child learning how to draw. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I will say that I do think like deep learning and in general, what it is doing is tapping into something that is a sort of like intrinsic property of the universe that allows for learning. Like there is that clearly is something that it's something that's possible in the universe, and we're getting close to like that. And when I see my baby babbling and learning how to do things, and it starts with gibberish and then it becomes more and more refined. It's exactly how diffusion models work. It's like a certain type of way that AI works with diffusion, where it starts with like a noise pattern, and from that noise pattern, it turns into the. So we've talked about this before. What is a diffusion model? Do we know? Sorry, I know I'm.
I'm just like I am not technical, and so it's hard. I'm gonna hopefully no one cares that I sound dumb, but
no, you don't sound dumb.
Basically, so like that's how a lot of these image generation models work, and what it means is you literally start with like a noise pattern, like black and white noise
waves, yeah.
randomness, and you like iterate from that noise into, you have like a yes, does this look like the prompt?
You're saying
yes, no, and it just diffuses from randomness into the thing.
Yeah,
that's how it works. And that I can recognize something analogous to that in seeing how my daughter develops her motion, and language and all that stuff. It feels very similar to how primitive models
But what's
work.
their training? So a diffusion model, is it graded by humans?
It's not great. No, they're all trained in the same way. They're trained like they're all deep neural nets, which are trained, where it's basically you have a data set, you have a problem, you have a bunch of different possible parameters with these weights, and you just go through all the different iterations until you get the best one, and then that's how the model trains. And it's like, it's not, a human is not guiding that process.
Well, no, but the models are being trained by people. That's for sure. That's what the whole AI talent thing is, right?
There's reinforcement learning that comes afterwards. But first thing is just this automatic process. That's what deep learning is it's just an algorithm that finds the optimum path between all of these different parameters.
I see.
And there is some subjectivity in human guidance there.
So how does it tell itself what's right and wrong? That's what I
There's something called a loss function. And I can't tell you what that is.
but
that has to go down. There is a reward.
Yeah,
there's a reward mechanism,
yeah.
and that basically a number that goes down. And that reward is a number in a spreadsheet, basically. It's
right. And we talked about this. That's also kind of what's it called? The gradient descent is.
That's that process.
There's some way basically that math can reward itself for getting something right. It can somehow tell in some really minimal way.
Yeah, just like it's like the
right.
least. Basically, think about it. It's like the reward is finding the path towards a destination that requires the least energy.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I think that's.
And that's like kind of easy to understand. It's not like rewarding in terms of like it's not making you come. I don't know. It's like, but it just like, it requires less energy, so it happens with less energy.
Oh, I see. I get it. Yeah. It's like it happens first.
It's just like where like water.
It goes. Yeah, it gets like
water finding the path.
Yeah, it's a little like it's actually very similar to Bitcoin, right? In a way, or I mean, not. I mean, it's like the energy burns it all off until it hits the nonce, right? It's
there's
like,
something, I guess. There's similarities that all
Yeah.
GPUs making
It's weird. It's like these like living software programs.
Definitely.
That's like where we're at. It's like these living software programs.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, the basis for that is like it's from the 40s. It's not everything is just taking that basic thing that was there's something called a perceptron, which was a way to do optical character recognition to be able to like have a computer recognize text. It was pretty early on that there's a lot of ways that people figured out to do optical character recognition for like blind people, like early 20th century, even late 19th century, there was primitive versions of it. But like the first version that used learning to like a bunch of parameters to learn this was I think 53 or something like that.
Wow.
And everything is just stacked on that
one thing.
Bigger parameters, more layers,
Wow.
basically. And like we just didn't have the compute until very recently to like really exponentially expand that. That's what I mean, that there really is this sort of like intrinsic algorithm that describes learning that we kind of have stumbled onto. That's what it kind of seems like.
What was the perceptron?
It's this big machine that, at least the first one, the Perceptron 1. I was just looking at this today.
Perceptron.
And it's like, the image of it is like you have like an image, like a letter A on the wall, white and black, and you have like a camera. And that camera basically converts it into a grid of pixels that are either black and white. So you can think about how that could then turn into a number, basically.
Yes, okay, sort of.
So just like, okay, there's a grid of pixels.
Yeah.
They're black and white, so they're either 1 or 0.
Yeah.
And you just have a whole sequence that describes a whole image that way. So that's the first process. And then you just like feed that to this model that has been trained off of a bunch of different letters and a bunch of different people saying this is the letter. It has to be it has to be like an image of the letter and has to be classified as a letter. That's how you train on those two things.
Yeah.
So it is like a human labels it for the you know what I mean?
Well, but what was the point of the perceptron?
To learn to be able to do for in mail, like to read.
So to read see a letter
and to read handwritten letters.
I see.
So it's not memorizing an exact one letter. It's memorizing the general shape. That's the cool thing about it.
I see. And then it can reproduce it.
And then it can either reproduce it or it can translate it. It can, turn it into digital data. It can read it and convert it into a computer program.
But it was for blind people?
That was another thing. That was another version. Yeah. But there was a lot of it's called optical character recognition. OCR. Yeah.
Wow.
Super fast. And that's where a lot of this stuff came out of.
Yeah.
And this is going to get, I don't know, should I keep going? Are people bored? I don't know.
Keep on going. That's what we'll see.
I heard about this thing just yesterday because in my day job, I do scouting for a venture capital firm and like AI companies and stuff. And this was a company, I didn't scout this actually. My partner did, but it's called diffraction. It's a new kind of camera, whatever. You don't have to know about it, but it relies on a thing called optical neural nets. So basically, they figure out a way that you can make something like that perceptron, except for instead of electrons going through wires, it's just light going through a series of glass plates that bend it in a certain way. So like the way that like a normal, you can think of like an optical character recognition network as just like there's an input with that grid, and then there's like a few different layers that transform it. You can think of like a bunch of wires that are connected in different ways, and the model determines the weights of all those wires and the different probabilities of things. What this does is it makes it purely optical. So for instance, like it's literally like etched, you like etch glass, and you can put an image in front of it and shine light through it and shine through this thing, and then on the outside, only the light will point to one point, and that point, and you'll have like a circle of points that. So if you want to classify the letter numbers, you have a grid of or a circle of 10 dots, each one like a clock. You can shine a laser through this thing with a number. It goes through these glass panels, and then out comes. So it's like literally physically computing. You can do the whole neural network without a computer. Which is just, it blows my mind that that's possible. And then there's a whole bunch of new class of things that are doing that. But it's like you can make that what was a room-sized thing. They literally have recreated on a quartz chip with two sides of it. They just engraved it, like literally it has bumps.
Yeah, and it'll translate.
And then like you have a laser, you put a number in front of it.
Yeah.
And it recognizes what number it is.
What number it is.
Or if it's an image of a shirt or pants, or what species of leaf. You could make a box where you put a leaf in one end, you shine a light, and it says oak or maple.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like, okay, there's something kind of innate to this.
Well,
stuff.
yeah, and it's kind of a
real.
black box too, right? I mean, I think like the calculus behind it is like almost like impenetrable. I think like people don't even get it.
Well, you can't when there are these really simple things. You can actually still model
simple
it.
thing, right? Yeah.
Like this, you can see you can model it. You can see a video where you see all the different like neurons firing. You can't with ChatGPT because that's literally like 100 million times bigger, and that is impossible to kind of.
Well, I think
model.
also even algorithmically, there are some things in ChatGPT that are just not understood. Even the simple things. From what I've heard, it's like there's certain types of algorithms that even if you like open it up and try to like make sense of the calculus, like you can't make sense of it as a human. It's like too weird. Like it's like the computer is actually teaching itself in its own way to do things.
That's for sure true.
Can't even understand.
Yeah.
Again, this is just what I've heard.
No, I mean, what it's specifically good at is finding like the optimum solution for things in a way that humans can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's too in the weeds probably, but yeah, I find it a very fascinating field, so that's why I can get really fucking.
So how's it going to affect art? So Daniel, you were an artist, by trade. You lived in Berlin for a long time, and so. I mean, it's sort of the most obvious thing in the world that this will, of course, be considered fine art. But I will say that most of the fine art versions of this that I've seen are sort of actually less cool than the shit that you see on Twitter. You know what I mean? Or like just the shit that you see in the world. And that's no offense to anybody, but it's kind of like, I mean, I think this is true of pretty much all art now. Like, do you laugh ever as hard at a movie as you do at a meme? Like almost never, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Hollywood's learning how to do it a little better now, but I really see that with AI, where it's like I'll see some art exhibit somewhere, and this is the one exception is I actually really love John Raffman's work, who's a guy
he
we
bridges
both
the
know.
gap.
He bridges the gap well, and he was kind of very ahead of the curve. What's amazing about John Raffman's work is he like looked AI slop before AI slop existed. So he kind of like telegraphed it, like in a cool way. So in a way he was like ahead of the curve. But most other things I've seen experimenting with AI, it's kind of like the art world is actually lagging behind what is the internet culture.
Sure.
So how is that, like, what will artists learn to do with AI that is novel because it's already such a weird, novel thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if there was, that's a very
No, I mean it's a good
complicated
it's a good question. I mean, I think like this was like the art world was already, in a crisis. It has been in a crisis for a while for various reasons, and it gets to this like operification effect. I just think that like in general, like at least the financial engine for the art world and like the collectors, they stopped seeking out like novelty in the same way. And I think that, I don't know, I just feel like that's kind of like the internet sort of like seemingly killed that for whatever reason. I think there's a lot of explanations. One that I've heard that makes somewhat sense is sort of like as the primary site for consuming art became, Instagram and an algorithmic feed, like the algorithm just intrinsically is going to kind of like prioritize stuff that looks like art. Like in general, I feel that I get that sense with Twitter where I get, if I don't like tweet within a certain range of topics, I just get buried.
Oh, yeah. No,
like they want you to be in buckets that are easily categorized.
It didn't used to be like that.
I've felt that for a while, but I don't know. I'm sure it's changed.
The Elon era is so different than the pre-Elon era.
Well, that's for sure.
It really is like whatever they did to the algorithm, they really did make it worse.
Oh, I agree, definitely.
And it's
for sure.
funny because it's like Elon. I thought you were the based one, but actually those fruity globo homos were better with the algorithm.
Better. It's an art form,
Speaking of setting the model, speaking of saying that those people, they were artists.
No, I mean that's so important to like setting the vibe of a place. I just think like art. So, long story short, though, I just like art. Art is not dead. Art as a thing that people like or care.
Fine art,
but contemporary art, the art system. I just genuinely don't think it's going to exist as we know it. It's like, I don't think young collectors care. I don't think there are young collectors, like not in the West. Like there was this, like, the entire time that I was active in the art world, especially with like post-internet art, there was like, why aren't the tech guys? Why aren't they buying art?
That's what they all say. Yeah.
They had a Silicon Valley art fair. They tried to do that. Yeah. And like only street art and then eventually NFTs like kind of like broke through it all because they were, a tangible form to those people or whatever. Anyways, like the only people who are like buying art, at least for the last several years, have been the same people who are buying, luxury goods still. Like basically people in the East that have not like developed as much like cognitive defenses against consumerism is like what I would say has become the main audience for like for all that kind of like luxury consumption. Partially because they're richer, but also it's not only the richness, and it's not only like they're nouveau riche. It's like they just like have to like develop a thicker skin to like not get so sniped by it. But like the biggest center of the art world now is like Seoul. Like one of them, Seoul, Hong Kong, and.
That's also because they're sort of learning behind. I mean, I think you're totally right. I get that exact feeling. I go to these art shows all the time, and I'm just like, this is such a waste of time. I'm just like, there is nothing here. It's operified. It's like there is literally nothing you can put on the wall.
New thing. No.
Unless, though, what about like AI, quantum computing, intricacy, where you're like making something that's like to me, what I would like to see for art is like megalopolis. Like you're making a needle that like is like 17 miles high.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Like that is what I want to see. Like it be like the power of computing just turned up to fucking 11 and like see what weird shit can come out of that.
Yeah.
That I'd be down for that.
I'm with you, but like that's not something that like. Not to get all lefty, but that's something that like capitalism can produce probably.
Why?
Well, because it's like
too expensive.
Yeah, it's like just like isn't like it's too expensive.
Maybe the commies can make these great
commies make pretty good massive monuments. You got to hand it to them. Like there's some really nice ones, and oh yeah, definitely. There's some like one of my favorite monuments is the space monument in Moscow. There's really sick. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I don't know, but. It looks like a Soviet monument, but it's a sick one. Whatever. Point being, like, it could not exist. That wouldn't happen in like the art world as it exists now.
Interesting
there's
argument for
exceptions though.
social.
Like there's all the earthworks in like Nevada, like Michael
What's his
Heinzen
name?
City and all this shit. Like,
Well, you mean what's his name? Oh, well, who are those guys that do that?
I mean, it was a bigger movement for a while, but now there's still a few, and it tends to be like a Western American.
Yeah, the whole Earth
spiral,
shit.
jetty,
I
whatever.
fucking hate that shit. Yeah, I hate.
Well, it's the closest thing to what you're talking
Yeah, I
about.
know. Who's the guy who they just did a brand new one of those things that just got unveiled?
Michael Heinzen, I think you're
Michael.
talking about.
Yeah, they did like a thing. New York
City,
did a thing.
it's called, right? Like a big kind of like looks like proto ruin.
Yeah.
Looks
yeah.
like
and you go walk
the Aztec
around,
room.
and you got to make an appointment 17 months in advance. It's
or
like-
the crater,
yeah.
James Turrell crater.
That's James Turrell, right,
That's
right.
cooler, kind of maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But like, okay, that's what you got.
Yeah, but see, that
Yeah, I don't
stuff
know.
is so like, it's like it really is just reaching the end of the road. It's like
Right.
I love populist art. I'm an artistic populist. I
Mm-hmm.
like art that delivers strong emotion on a
Sure.
very easy level. I don't want to like think too much. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that that's the point of art. I think that it would be cool to figure out where. I mean, I think that that's what memes are, right? Memes are the populist art of our time, and people really struggle with understanding that because I think speaking of putting things on the wall, you can't really put a meme on a wall. You can.
They've tried,
but it doesn't work.
No, that's in general. It's just like
because it's contextual. Because
Yeah,
it's
of
the
course.
whole 99% of the art of a meme is context.
Exactly.
Whereas like every other art, it's like maybe 50%,
Yeah.
or like 40%. So it's like you need that 99% context weight to get it at all. And so therefore that both removes the creator and it removes the ability to make it static. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
it's like people don't understand, they don't realize that they are witnessing the art of our time. They just don't think of it as art because there's no signature on it.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's the death of like the white cube as a sort of like
Yeah.
rarefied space
Right.
that you go to
Yeah.
experience art with this reverence.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, like that's
Yeah.
and the ones that do still persist, they kind of, well, I gotta say, are getting more towards what you're saying in terms of like kind of like Meow Wolf, like
Yeah.
pure experiential adult daycare, you can say pejoratively, but like that, sure, that kind of, I can see why you'd go to like the Tate Turbine Hall to like
Yeah.
see a big burning sun, like that, sure. That is still,
Wait,
I
what's
think.
the Tate Turbine Hall?
The Tate, like the Tate
I know that.
Modern.
Yeah, I've been in Tate Modern, but what is
The Turbine Hall is that big space. That's just what they call it. Because it was a power plant. with turbines in it.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a great Damien Hirst retrospective.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what is Meow Wolf again? I actually haven't been, but I know people like it. What is it?
I've been there for some crypto parties.
Yeah.
It's like a place that like you and your, I think, like co-workers go to
Like,
do shrooms in
what's
like
in it?
like weird installations and
and
like
you buy stuff? It's like you buying things? You don't buy things.
no,
thought
I
it
mean
was like
there's a bar,
super-
there's like music and it's like a venue.
Oh.
I don't know. I didn't go to it. I only went to it for like at a crypto conference, and then there was like an after party there. So I don't know if I got the pure Meow Wolf experience. This was in Denver too, which is not the main one. They're in like
Meow
Denver
Wolf,
and
Meow Wolf, Denver.
Albuquerque and
Yeah.
Vegas.
So it's kind of like Instagram museum. It's like
It's definitely in that genre.
It's in that genre.
but a little bit more edgy, I guess, for coworker level edgy.
What did you
psychedelic.
think of the whole Instagram museum?
Oh, I never really.
Museum
Have-
of ice cream.
Yeah, I haven't really ever experienced it myself, but I mean, it makes sense, of course, and it is getting to what I'm talking to in terms of like the site where you consume art is just not there anymore, and it isn't circulating in those things. But I mean, this gets to what Sloptimism is, and have you had Sean Monahan on the show actually? Yeah.
I have.
So I feel like we kind of like he wrote this thing back in January where he was saying like post-internet art was the last avant-garde. And he was specifically saying that he didn't think crypto was, despite it kind of trying to be, because it's too lame, I think was his main takeaway. It's like aesthetically lame and
Yeah.
whatever. Which I'm not going to even really try to like.
I like that.
I'm not going to like object to that, but I will say that like in general, this is getting what you're saying about like people don't recognize it as art. Yeah, I don't think the avant-garde, like it's like, okay, the avant-garde coming in its seeming incomprehensibly crass and lame and fucking ugly,
Yeah.
and just like how can anyone be participating in this? Sorry, that might just be like what happens when you're nearly 40 and there's something new happens. And like, yeah, I'm nearly 42 and I'm just whatever. I'm not like, I don't think I have more neuroplasticity than Sean, but
Yeah.
I do think that's where we differ for sure. I do think that like, yeah, sloptimism. What that means to me is that it's like the site of the new of cultural avant-garde, where there is experimentation with attention economy arbitrage and slop and
Meme
hyper
coins,
gambling
meme
and all these things, and
coins.
it's just where all that kind of converges. And I don't think we've seen like the great the great work of sloptimism yet. I think it's early, but I do think that this is sort of like that convergence of gambling that we talked about. Like it's clear to me that there will be fully novel forms that combine live streaming, gambling, AI, all these things.
I think what
Yeah.
Sean is looking for, though, is the elite form of this thing. And I
Right.
think we're so used to, especially in the past 30 years, I think a lot of people just in general, particularly in our like brainy ass sphere, and I'm not talking about Sean, I'm talking about other people, mistake the past 30 years for the past 100 years. And actually, the past 30 years were very different than the previous time.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are living in this world where the white cube type of art was this sort of elite thing, right? It was like this thing that it's like what people did. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like oh, you go to this is what the elites of our time do. John Podesta, you know, this is we all appreciate
Right, sure,
we all
yeah.
appreciate the art on the wall.
Right.
But that's like a boomer ass thing. That's not always how it's been.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally
And
not.
it's like there were plenty of times when, you know, the whole era before that, when who were the guys, the whole era of Norms is burning, Norm's burning, what I'm talking
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Norm's the gas station burning, famous LA artist.
Ed Ruscha.
Yeah, Ed Ruscha. Yeah.
Sorry, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
whole Ed Ruscha era of people. Like, I don't think they were really like trying to be super elite in their time. I mean, maybe they were. Who knows? But I feel like what he's saying is like I could see what he's saying by the avant-garde is dead, but I think that the word avant-garde has been tinged with this high classishness
Sure.
that really is not real. That's like not avant-garde things don't need to be classy.
Well, they definitely they
You know?
probably shouldn't be if
Right.
they're actually gonna.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So I just think what we're seeing now is sort of a great like death of the academy. Like I think the
Sure.
academy just totally ran out of juice, and so now we're seeing things.
I misheard
Come
what
down.
you said, but yeah.
What?
Ran out of Jews.
Ran out of juice.
Yeah,
Both.
for sure.
They
Yeah.
ran out of Jews and juice.
Yeah.
They've certainly are running out of Jews.
They're running the Jews out, and
They're
therefore running out of
Jews
Jews.
out, so they're running out of
Yeah.
Jews. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, and it's like it's also kind of like women versus AI. You know, that's like what I
Women
see.
versus
I
AI.
feel like it's like woman in the workplace versus AI, and it's like these two monsters are about to like fight each other.
I mean, sure, they're two big economic distortions compared to
Yeah.
the previous millennia, for the most part, with obvious many exceptions. But sure, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we haven't talked about that, but yeah, how long do these go for normally? Actually,
We got another 30 minutes.
oh, okay, cool, sure.
Yeah.
Just wondering. Yeah, we haven't talked about the unemployment issue and all that stuff, which is the other side of.
Well, no,
attention
hold on.
economy
Let's get back.
arbitrage.
This was actually a good topic. So Sean's thing you're
Art world,
saying
yeah, sure.
is dead. You're kind of against saying the avant-garde is dead because you're saying I'm a sloptimist. So what is sloptimism, and what could a great piece of slop art looks like? I mean, I personally love like the slop, ridiculous slop meme videos. Like, did you
Absolutely,
see the
yeah.
kitten being saved by the shark or whatever? Like, it was the kitten.
Meow
being
story.
saved.
I love Meow story. I
Dude,
love
it's
Italian
great.
brain rot. No, I
I
think
love that shit.
No, this is. I think I feel like since I came up with. I think I came up with Sloptimism in like early December. It was around the time that like the Dean Kissick article came out where he was lamenting the death of art, and then Sean.
That article was so ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just like,
but
art is woke.
Yeah, right. And
okay, thanks, Dean Kissick.
I was like, yes.
You're only 30 years late. But
yeah, no, the art, I mean, I do think it fits into what my critique too, and art is woke, and that was a problem with the art world over the last 10 years, was it becoming too woke. But I don't think it was driven that way ideologically. It was driven there from a vacuum of meaning.
100%.
Because they got rid of this novelty engine. And before that, it was like, let's find the youngest, freshest youths with the newest ideas. And that was the engine.
Yeah.
And then that stopped being like,
that's
okay, we're just going to do the same thing, but we're going to find the nichest identities.
Yeah, now it's a black guy.
Now it's a black guy is probably not even enough. We're going to get it.
He has to be a poor black guy. He has to be from South Central.
Whatever. This kind of thing where that became the engine. It wasn't novelty, but it was the only thing that was novel. And then for that reason, because they were trying to get all these basically essentially outside artists, plus that like algorithmic sorting tendency, prioritizes art that looks like art that already existed.
Yeah.
So the algorithm understands it, and that's like what happened. And so the wokeness is almost just like, I feel like it's just a byproduct.
Totally.
Of that.
The wokeness is absolutely a byproduct.
It's like to me that felt very silly to complain about it. I mean, but yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So say that we are moving on to this world of AI art.
Mm-hmm.
What could a piece of great AI art look like, besides the one that you actually very smartly said, which is actually it's your going on a shooting spree because that's what you want to do.
Sure.
That's one form, but we're still far away.
I feel like that's ultimate AI entertainment.
Yeah,
we're talking about art, which is like, I think is meant to be shared and consumed by many people. Right?
But actually, if we learn anything about streaming, people love watching other people play video games. That will be,
totally. It will be a medium for sure too.
You are the best rapist.
Yeah, best dream rapist, whatever.
You are the best dream rapist.
Lucid rapist.
10 out of 10 raping skills.
Yeah, totally.
It's amazing.
Whatever.
You've got a future
attention
as a dream
demands.
rapist.
Yeah. But okay, you mentioned the
really
Meow
good.
Story. I think
Future
I think Meow Story is great art. I think Brim Brim Patapim. I think Tung 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 Sahor. I think.
Wait, what is that? What is this Tum Tum?
All the Italian brain rot. These characters.
What is that?
I don't exactly know the origin story, but they're a series of chimeric creatures that are made with like deliberately sloppy looking AI that is a shark with wearing a shark that's wearing Nikes, or a crocodile combined with a bomber, Crocodilo Bombadillo. And then there's these videos made with them, and there's this one preset Italian voice that says these Italian sounding words. And it's become this sort of like decentralized IP kind of creation. Like, I don't think anyone owns these characters. There's a whole series there's like 10 of them now. And
Wait, how are they created? How are they created?
I mean, some content creators started with one of them. I think it was actually my wife claims that it was an Armenian guy in Armenia who made the first Italian brain rot. I don't know. There's a lot of claims to it, and there's obviously so many new characters, but it's not like there's not a studio that made them. There's just sort of like decentralized lore that has just been built, and Dugan has been tweeting about it today. Did you see that?
No.
Dugan's been tweeting about it on the playground. On the playground the other day, there was a kid, a probably 4-year-old kid, who was just saying "tung tung tung sahor" over and over and over again to himself. To himself. There was nobody around. It wasn't like it was just like a mantra. And so it just, I don't know, but it was like,
And that's what the Italian brain rot's characters say.
They say their own names. Ballerina Cappuccino. Tung 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 tung. I'm going to say it as many times as I can.
Where do they exist? Though? Are they in videos?
They're in all these different content, but the characters are pretty consistent. But then there's songs that have been created, all these like Brazilian funk songs, and now I think there are meme coins, but the meme coins come afterwards. It's not like someone's like, I'm gonna make a meme coin character. I do think that would be smart to try to like fake a craze and then make a meme coin out of it. But that's
people
advanced
do
jewelry.
People do that. advanced AI jewelry.
Yeah.
It's what I am into is, remember there was that thing of like the woman who kept finding like the creatures that exist in AI that somehow you can pull up with weird prompts. What was that? Do you remember what that was called? There was
I forget what it was, but
it was like Gael or something.
Yeah, cool.
That's the Israeli
and that's kind of the cross section of old models too.
Yeah, it's like, and if you put it in, you kept seeing this old thing.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things is to do on Midjourney is just zoom out forever. And I did that once, and I was like in a dark forest, and it was just like dark forest, and then suddenly like a Mothman appeared, and it was like, whoa,
Jump
cool.
scare.
I was like, holy shit, how the fuck did a Mothman get there? And it was like, well, that's so weird. Like that thing just naturally occurred, like in this forest.
Yeah.
There was like an actual Mothman. But that's not what you're talking about with Italian brain rot. These aren't like something that you can pull up with a certain prompt. Like,
well, I guess so, probably.
I guess it must be.
I mean, there's a formula for making them. I don't know what they are, but it wasn't. Yeah, it just like wasn't very intentional. And this is just one example, but okay, the fat JD Vance, the Please memes.
Great.
Like, I mean, basically,
I
mean that the mass Ghibli moment.
Ghibli,
I just like all the kind of like all of the like mass cultural moments this year. I feel like there was a big. Like that's what I was saying. Like I came up with Sloptimism in December, and then since then we had Please, we had the Ghibli moment, we had Italian brain rot, we had Meow Story. We had Cloudy Heart. We had a bunch of AI generated culture, basically.
Yeah.
That for the most part was not created by artists that we know or studios, but just basically was from the ether,
Yeah.
And so to me, I was like very much some validation of my claims. I thought that this is like already just like pushing clearly, just like. Because it has made it easier for people to participate in these things and make their own, fat JD Vance variations and stuff. Overall, so art is going to look like that, and there still is this sort of like communal, participatory. It's like it's a group chat that is making art together. Like I feel like that is, is the nature of things.
Yeah, it's like riffing. Up. You know what I've been loving recently is the potato girl from Last of Us. Have you seen that? And it just goes further and further into potato and dad, and it's like anything related to dad or potato, it's like they have it.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
Well, it just makes sense that it's like based off of the process of how AI works, that it would be like perfect for satire or parody.
Yeah,
it's like it's like a parody engine basically.
Yeah, it is a parody engine. That's like totally true.
That's like what it does. So yeah, it's funny.
So are there principles of Sloptimism? Do you have a manifesto?
No, I don't. I've been meaning to write one for months, but because I'm, too brain rotted, I haven't actually ever published it. So I've only been tweeting about it to try to sort of mimetically capture it, and then I talk about it occasionally on things like this.
I think you're onto something, man. I think
maybe you don't need to actually write the essay. I will write. I think there needs to be a canonical essay about it, because it has been published and written about, but always by people I would say at least slightly misinterpreting what I meant.
What do they misinterpret? What are they saying?
Like either they just like think it is utterly unrelated to what I mean, and it's just about being like stupidly optimistic or something like. Just like a pejorative. And so I don't know. I heard that.
That would be like a John Rathman video.
Yeah.
Like I'm a sloptimist in the sense that I just
eat
everything.
It was in some marketing. I saw it was in like Little Black Book, the like advertising. Do you know this magazine?
No.
Some like ad industry magazine that I'd never read, but I saw it and it was like their interpretation was that it was about like wanting authenticity again online, or like, and I was like.
What?
It's total, just like completely orthogonal to what I meant. I don't know, but not even wrong, just like unrelated to what I meant. I don't know, but I did see, Sean Monahan. He, not to keep name dropping him, but he mentioned it. Name drop. This was, I gotta say, this was my goal because I was always very envious of coming up with coining a term. This was always a goal.
You want to coin?
I've always
you're a
wanted.
coin term-
I've always
term-
wanted to,
term
and
coin.
I've never done it.
There is definitely people who want it. That's a
Yeah.
funny. That's a funny thing to want.
I know, I know. It's a little sad, sure, but I was there when Normcore got coined.
Yeah.
And I know the true story and the power of coining something, and I saw what it did for their careers, and it was very, very
Right.
beneficial.
You want to be the guy that coins things. And
Yeah.
Sean, there's nobody better than Sean.
He's done it a few
He
times,
has done
for
it.
sure.
And he knows how to totally
Right.
do that. Although people steal it. That's the thing. People steal the term and then they try
Of
to.
course, it's hard to, you have to watermark it somehow.
Well,
Really,
it's also
it's all over it.
It's
own
also
it,
like
but-
it's something like that. Who really knows? But that's what he's been so good at. Is like actually most of those terms don't have an owner, but he somehow manages to be the owner. Irish.
That's
Irish.
true,
It's
yeah.
the Irish. It's the Irish Jew.
Well, I mean, Normcore, I know who coined Normcore originally, and it was none of the members of
no.
K-Hole, is all I'm going to say.
well, but
Not that
again,
it was stolen, it was taken.
sure.
It came out of a riff. It was a riff, but
No, dude.
yeah.
For a long time, people thought I made up Vibe Shift.
Oh, really?
Everybody kept coming to me and say, "Oh, you're the guy."
It was
behind Vibe Shift."
Angelicism,
And I
right?
was like, I didn't fucking do it. I kept saying Sean did it. I was like, Sean came up with. Vibe
I think it was
Shift.
Angelicism first.
What happened to Angelicism? That was
I don't
cool for
know.
about
He's a bit
2
of a.
seconds.
I think he's a complicated figure.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
live
that was
on-
a thing. That was a
I'm
moment.
not a fan of him, but sure, I get his project.
Oh,
I'm not a
thank
hater of the
God.
project, but I don't like him personally. That's all.
Thank God,
Yeah.
fucking Dime Square is over. That was tough to bear. You
think it's
for
over?
about 5 seconds? Dime Square? Oh, definitely. Yeah. No.
Wow.
Dime
How
Square
is it over?
100% over.
Over in what regard?
It was over before it even started. Dime
Wow.
Square was actually built around that playwright guy. That way was actually Matt
Peter Vack?
Gazda. No,
Oh, no.
Matt
Oh, that-
Gazda.
that, you mean, yeah.
And Matt Gazda was like banging all the girls and like doing plays and hanging out at that guy's house. And then Gazda was gone as soon as it got popular. The guy's house shut down. Whoever remember there was this whole thing about the guy. I went to his house. I went to like one of the premier Dime Square
What
parties.
year are you talking about?
This was like 3 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago, and I hung out at Clandestino. I did
Sure.
Sovereign House. I was there on Sovereign House's first night, and it's fine. It's all fine. I got nothing against it. Anand and Dash are great. I've always liked them. I have nothing against it. But it's
Yeah.
definitely over. I mean, because Gazda's gone. Like the whole core of it is just gone. Like there's nothing's going to happen in Dime Square now. Like what would happen? What could possibly?
I just
happen?
like it doesn't need to happen in Dime Square for Dime Square to still it still exists as in the way that okay, you could say Hollywood is dead too, but it's not. It's obviously not.
But Dime
Hollywood is
Square
still
Hollywood. Right?
Sure, no, okay.
Well, how is Dime Square going to live on? You tell me. Maybe it will live on.
I don't know. It just depends what you mean. I don't know. I remember what Dime Square was before it was called Dime Square. There was already people like, Dina from K-Hole, Marco from Disc Magazine. So it was already this kind of like, it wasn't called Dime Square yet, but Dimes was there. It already was this like cultural center for at least 8 years before COVID, before it turned right wing coded.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right. Right.
So it already had there's a bunch of Canal 47. There's a bunch of good galleries right there too.
Yeah.
So to me, it was that, and then
and then it vibe shifted. It vibe shifted slightly. That's what happened.
I don't know. So
right?
okay, sure, maybe its current incarnation is dead, but I feel like a lot of people also. I had this all the time. Remember with Carly, my co-host, on New Models, where as soon as like a trend felt like even a tinge of uncool, she would be like, "Oh, it's over, it's dead," and then I would like go look up the like whatever statistics of its popularity,
Yeah.
and it would be like hugely popular, but not cool anymore to the earliest adopters. And so my point is just like there's a big adoption curve. There's a long tail. It's like probably Dime Square and the ideas of Dime Square are not.
What are the
not
ideas
dead.
of Dime Square though?
Being
right
right-wing.
wing art ho.
I don't know.
Yes.
Sure, I don't
okay.
know.
If
Yeah.
that's what you mean, then I completely
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
We still need.
There's
so
no
it's-
great artworks that came out of that for sure, but that's not what it. That's like just like that's not a valid criticism of the scene because it's not what it was for. It was a reaction.
The artworks that came out of it were the memes.
Well, that and the podcast, which I think,
and the miladies, and like the, these weird.
That's like downstream of it.
Yeah,
for sure. Sure.
It was that I remember it's the girl with the, pink but glitchy Christian thing going on.
Sure.
Like I'm a little angel. Well, dude, Raffman's cigarette smoking, the best encapsulation of a Dime Square girl is
Thoughty Heart, do you think?
I
I don't think so. No, she's pre-cut.
She's too fat. She's too fat.
She's too fat. She's more C-punk than she's definitely earlier. She's more millennial for sure. Millennial, apart from the millennial imagination, I would say.
No, it's the, which Raffman was way ahead of the curve with. It's the cigarette smoking flying deer fawn.
That is for sure true,
that is that is like the e-girl mascot. Is
that's true.
Wings on a fawn and it's smoking a cigarette.
You're right to identify that.
No, dude, I went to Dime Square at the height, and it was fantastic. If what you're saying is Dime Squareism is slightly right-coded city bohemians, then we got a long way to go. We're just starting. We're going to be getting.
I mean,
just
based off obviously a big selection bias in terms of like what Zoomers I'm meeting, but Zoomers I'm meeting are not.
Dude, I told you I went to. Did you go to Monahan's birthday party at Tenants of the Treats?
No, I did not.
So everyone else got in besides me. I was like, because I was like not dressed for it, and I got so Berghain so hard. Yeah. He literally pointed at me. I was like, no. And I was like, fuck you, bro.
Creepy dude.
Yeah, I was like 40-year-old white man without like a weird gay shirt on. Get out of here.
Exactly.
I was also not dressed for it at all. So it's like I really was wearing like basically like the least cool clothes. But whatever, fuck him. But anyway, I got in anyway because just I was with the party and he was really pissed, that fucking guy. He's like a legend, that guy now, because he's such an asshole. He's like the Berghain LA.
The guy, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, I go in. And the whole thing is like, there's an it girl there. And she's this young it girl. It's like a skinny, fucking totally normal looking girl. But she looks like a normal girl, whatever, except on her, she looks like an art girl. She's got weird shit, whatever, the weird shit they wear. But instead, she's got like, on her arms are stickers that say InfoWars. And I'm like, oh, I get it. You're cool because you have InfoWars stickers on your arms.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're right. That's just the beginning of this, dude. We're going to be this is going to be like, culture is going to be so enmeshed in this like little pink Christian InfoWars girl for so fucking long.
At least for a few more years.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, we are halfway through the decade, and I think like the high water mark that you're talking about probably was 2020, 21, actually, when it was like against COVID lockdowns and had a raison d'etre kind of, like that's
right. Well, I think what's really interesting about what you're saying, that nobody can find the chat box on Twitter.
Oh, cat box. Yeah.
No, I think what's really
I was like, they've been like having a stinky apartment for 2 years. That's what I was.
I think what's interesting about what you're saying is that actually Dime Square like existed as non-based for a long time before this.
It's just where the artists.
Yeah. So it needed this.
It was like a post-internet. Is where I would say.
Yeah.
It mirrors the cultural trajectory in general.
I also think art in general has become like when I lived in New York City. And maybe this is me just getting older, but when I lived in New York City, the art ho did not reign supreme. There was art hoes were a second-class citizen. They were weird. When I lived there, you wanted to hang out with bankers, go to brunch. Even if you were in Brooklyn, you wanted to be a bro. You wanted to be like a frat bro.
I can't relate. I definitely was hanging out with art hoes. I was in Berlin and I was going to New York. I was definitely not hanging out. Well, maybe I wanted to hang out with bankers, but bankers and art hoes, not bankers by themselves. That's for sure.
But there were like the art hoes were sort of secondary then. Like the hoes were still like.
No, I remember this. Meeting some guy at this like DLD, this tech conference in 2011, who turned out to be whatever. And he's like some tech guy, and I was like showing him a hot girl, and she's like, yeah, she's hot, but she's like kind of like hipster hot. And I was like, to me, that was like what?
You're
Because
like-
I was like, I went to art. I don't know. That was
You
like,
were
that's
only new hipster.
That's what hips.
Yeah.
That's what hot was. That was attractive to me. I don't know.
You
Whatever.
see, I didn't.
So, yeah, that was
my
me. I
wife is
remember.
like the ultimate art hoe, and she was hipster hot.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I was 26. It was the first time I'd ever
Well,
seen it,
you're all
and I was
laid
like,
out. I
"Whoa,
remember.
what is this?" I was like, "What is this whole thing?"
Yeah.
And it was, these were all LA private school girls. They wear their, they have this whole affect. And I had never seen that before. And I was like insatiably attracted to it because I'd never, I'd been hanging out with normie Chicago
Sure.
girls my whole life, and like normie, just normal girls.
You never like the SAIC girls in Chicago? Because like that was, okay, I went to pre-college when I was 15.
Yeah. Wait, you went to pre-college?
Well, like in the summer program. I went to like a summer art school
Oh,
program
yeah, okay.
at SAIC.
Got it.
And the art hoes were in effect, and they were
Even
not
then.
for sure.
Wow.
This was 2002 or something, and they were not from Detroit or Chicago, and that I got to say was a big motivating factor in me deciding to go to art school. Was
Damn.
that?
And maybe they've been there the whole time.
I think so.
Maybe I just
Definitely.
discovered them late. Maybe
Yeah.
the art hoes are.
It was definitely the
are
big
timeless.
part of the appeal. for
There will
sure.
always be
Yeah.
art hoes. No, but come on, you have to admit, Brat, Summer, give me a break. Brat,
Sure.
like the art hoe aesthetic has certainly become dominant.
I mean,
right?
sure. I'm just like I'm 40 now and I'm married, so I'm not like
who cares?
I don't know, but yes, sure, yes,
Yeah,
but it's true.
I
yes.
just think we're going to go back from that. I think
To
like
normies.
I think that well, I have this whole theory of that in the normcore era in 2014, art split culture split in half, and where we wanted to go was normie town, right? Like where people wanted to go was back to the 80s, but what was forced upon us was face tattoos. Because we could only go further left. The only place that's what wokeness
Well,
is.
there was Trump
It-
that happened.
it-
So
it-
we didn't go
I-
back to the 80s and in the middle of the 2000s.
Well,
or
but
2010s.
not stylistically, right?
Maybe not, no,
In
but-
my opinion, as you said, wokeness is actually the regime being unwilling to find novelty on the right, so finding it further on the left.
Sure, I guess that's true.
So
yeah.
they're having to go deeper and deeper and deeper into to mine something new. Hey, give us a tranny, give us a black homeless person.
Yeah.
Like they have to find more
Sure.
shit because they couldn't go right. They couldn't go even slightly
Yeah,
right.
that's true,
So you
yeah.
have this split between authentic culture and mainstream culture, and art ho, the right wing art ho is kind of the perfect
Well,
in between.
the art hoes that I'm talking about back in 2003,
Yeah.
they would by no means
They're
were they
definitely not
right wing.
yes,
No,
no,
for sure.
definitely.
I mean, and one of the main
No,
criticisms.
my wife's friends all uniformly hate me
Yeah.
because they missed the boat on right wing art ho. But now I guarantee you, all of them would be down now. Like if they were young art hoes, they would be
For
down.
sure, no.
Yeah.
Definitely. I definitely find myself more woke than a lot of the Zoomers that I encounter at their readings or whatever. And also, yeah, the fact that the rise of the readings as opposed
Oh
to
my God.
openings.
Fucking readings.
I'm DJing at a Zoomer reading
Ooh,
on Sunday.
really?
With some AI slop that I'm gonna
Nice.
curate.
DJing.
I'm DJing. I used to be a DJ.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a DJ.
Cool. In Berlin?
Yeah, I all around Europe and stuff. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I used to
What
do
kind
that.
of music?
Very well, I will say not to shoot my horn, but it doesn't sound very different than what you would hear now from young people. I think it was a eclectic mix of different tempo things and hard style mixed with reggaeton mixed with this mixed with blah blah blah. Very 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 eclectic and almost ironic and mashup-y and this kind of thing. Whatever. But I hear a lot of that out. I gotta say, very similar, where it's just sort of an entropic blend of whatever.
Entropic blend.
An entropic blend. Yeah.
I like it. I like that. That sounds
I
really
made
cool.
I did all these slow. Everything was very slowed down. My first few, that was what I was known for doing before. Yeah.
Oh,
whatever.
really? Like slowed and
chopped
then
and like chopped and
fast?
screwed. Yes, like these things, which is everything is that now.
Chopped and screwed.
Chopped and screwed. This kind of thing.
Okay. What was your
Origin.
DJ name?
AIDS 3D.
AIDS 3D.
That was my art,
Fucking great DJ.
art and DJ collective name.
DJ AIDS 3D.
DJ AIDS
That is
3D. The
fucking
SoundCloud is still
good.
up. Check it out. The
That
mixes
is
are still
really
up
good.
there.
That is maybe the best DJ. I've ever heard
Ryder
in a
Rips
long
just
time.
told me my Diss Magazine 2010 mixtape. He still listens to it.
Really?
It's still his favorite mix.
Oh, dude, we got to
There you go.
listen to this, man. For my wedding, we flew out a
Lento
German
Violento.
DJ.
Do you know this? Oh, really? What?
His name was Heimlich Müller. You ever
Good
heard
name.
of him?
I know,
I think
I
it's the
know.
name of a Nazi. And
Heimlich Müller,
Yeah, he
yeah.
shows up. We flew him out because I love this one mix that he had. and it's like 3 hours long. And he's not super popular. He has like 50,000 followers on SoundCloud. He's like a very like not super known guy.
Sure.
And he came out with his like 20-year-old hot girlfriend, and he was like 47, and like did not speak any English. And we just like gave him a bag of drugs, and he just disappeared. And he didn't show up to the wedding until they had to like bang on his hotel room, and he like woke up and like limped to the party and like played for a couple hours. It was a fucking disaster.
Was the set good?
I mean, I was fucking hammered, so I barely remember.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember it was really fun. It was really
That's
fun.
cool.
No, he ended up playing a good set, and I think everybody was like having a good time. But
That's funny.
definitely not your normal wedding
Sure, no.
playlist, which is my least favorite thing in the world. My least favorite thing in the world is when I'm expected to dance seriously
To
R-E-S-P-E-C-T
celebration.
or you know any of the new
yeah.
songs. You know, who's the fake Filipino Justin Timberlake?
Oh, Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm supposed to dance to Bruno Mars.
Yeah, no.
It's
yeah.
like I'd have to be so fucked up to do that. You know, it's like don't make
the
me
challenge.
get that
Yeah,
fucked
for sure.
up. Anyway, all right, dude. Thank you so much for joining. Anything to say about your projects? Where can people find you? We got 630 people here.
Wow. Okay. Follow me on Twitter, DNLKLR, or Instagram. Old models.
He's based. He doesn't think he's based, but he actually is.
So a little bit. I'm a centrist. I'm a unconditional accelerationist. I'm a centrist, and I'm a rationalist. I'm a post-rationalist. Sorry.
And a future dream rapist.
And future. I'm dreaming about my future dream. Also, so Old Models Foundation dropping soon. Also, check out Aiden. It's a new fund by Tribute Labs with AI at the core. If you want to be a network scout, if you have access to deal flow of any interesting early stage technology companies, you just submit the deal and you get half of the upside. It's a very, very good deal. Check that out. And also come, if you're in LA, come to Earth on Sunday and you can come see my Slop DJ set. Thanks.
Amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cool. That was fun.
Wait.